What's up, guys? Dry here, and we are talking about the Superman movie. Now, when I first saw this, the trailer for this, I wasn't quite sure. Not the trailer, but like the first images of, I think David Corset is his name, Corsweat. He has an interesting name, but like when I first saw him in the suit, I was like, oh man, I don't know. I'm having a lot of doubts, right? Because Man of Steel for me has a special place in my heart. But I also know that is not the most Superman version of Superman that I've ever seen, right? I always think back to Christopher Reeves. That is Superman to a T. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, wow, that's what I expect Superman to be. Now, mind you, I'm a huge fan of Batman. Everybody knows this is no secret. I'm also a huge fan of Warhammer 40K. And why am I saying this? Because a lot of the things I like tend to be on the darker side, right? More grimdark, edgy, blah blah blah. You can call me an edgelord if you want. That's not really the case. It's just I like what I like, and Superman just happens to not be in that genre of fiction that I'm typically into, with the exception of Batman, because obviously they're best friends. They interact in the comic books all the time. But the thing that makes Superman interesting is always the fact that he is unilaterally kind. And he is the goodness in, the superhuman goodness that lies in everybody. But we're going to get to that here in a bit. I'm going to try my best to not, branch off and rant and this, and that. So first of all, story. So let's keep it right. Let's keep it nice and concise. In this version of Superman, he's been Superman for about 3 years. He's been very open to the public that he's an alien. He has this video that says his parents sent him to Earth so that he can be, a servant of the people, so that he can, protect them, be their shield, be the guy. I'm not gonna say they're friendly neighborhood Superman, but he's gonna be the man of tomorrow, right? And he's doing all that. At the same time, Lex Luther, generational hater in this video. Shout out to Nicholas Hoult. He was fantastic, man, because I hated this dude. I hated this guy. Again, I said I wasn't going to get into a rant. But he's doing everything he can to essentially make Superman look bad and have an excuse to kill Superman, right? He's breaking into the Fortress of Solitude so that he can steal the T, which is the video, actually, of Superman's parents. And we're going to get to that here in a bit. But he's also creating an international incident where, hey, this one country is invading another country that has a lot less means for two reasons. One, again, so he has an excuse to kill Superman. That's first and foremost. But as far as the rest of the world is concerned, this country is invading because they have every right to, and Lex Luthor's in the background funding them, but he's also trying to create his own country, Luthoria, right? Lois Lane discovers this here, or like later on in the movie, and that's basically the linchpin that lets everybody know, he's actually just in leagues for himself, right? But obviously, Lex is, showing everybody, I'm not a hater, bro. It's just this guy's dangerous. He's this, he's that, and Superman is trying to combat, essentially a terrible media campaign against him, and it's not something he can combat with his fists, right? Lois Lane even saying like, hey, I get that you're trying to do all this good, but like you have to see it objectively from a person who doesn't know you, who doesn't know Lex Luthor, who doesn't know what's going on in the world. You are an alien who came into this world and is just doing what he thinks is right? That's essentially like the cliff notes of the movie, right? There's a couple other things, pocket dimensions, crypto, all that good stuff. And, if you want more of that, I'm not going to go too much into detail, right? So from here on out, here's the real spoilers. Lex Luthor finally finds the thing that he's been wanting is a way to destroy Superman, right? And it turns out it was in the Fortress of Solitude. It was the message from Superman's parents. It said, yes, you are our only hope. We love you. Go to Earth because you can do the most good there. But then it says, hey, rule with an iron fist, without mercy, get you some bitches, make a lot of babies, and after you make your super harem, hey, Earth is yours to conquer, right? Takes Superman by surprise, takes the Justice Gang by surprise, takes the Earth by surprise. Everyone's questioning him. Superman's questioning himself. right? And it's such an interesting thing that Superman is questioning himself. And, it takes a conversation with Pa Kent, because Superman at this point is like, hey, like my life is a lie. I'm not who I thought I was. My parents sent me here to hurt people. I don't want to hurt people. That's not who I am. And Pa Kent says, honestly, like one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in a movie. And not because it's like so eloquently put or it's such a bar. It was just that it was so simple and it was so real. He says to Clark, to Superman, but we're going to call him Clark. He says to Clark, it is not the job of a parent to tell their children who they are. It's like their job is to give you the tools so that you can go make fools of yourselves on your own, right? And then he also tells them, he's like, hey, despite that message and what it said, you chose to believe that message said something good. You chose, it is your choices, right? Your standard stuff, but it's like, it is your choices that make you who you are. And Superman realizes this and goes to save the day, right? Between, Ultraman being a dumb clone version of him, as well as, the pocket dimension that Lex Luthor has. I know I went over some stuff very broadly. I'm sorry if you're looking for for a detailed plot line, but if you want that, you have to go see the movie. I promise it's such a good movie. But anyways, Lex Luthor's little pocket dimension where he's got all his science projects is kind of, he's kind of gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So he's opening the pocket dimension. It's kind of tearing Metropolis in half. Black holes threatening to destroy Metropolis. Yada, yada, yada. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Superman, as well as the Justice Gang, managed to beat Ultraman. They stop Lex Luthor. Krypto tosses Lex Luthor around a little bit. They have their little moment. And, another beautiful couple bars from Superman this time, and the reason I'm going over this, I'll go over that actually right after I explain this. But he says, "Hey, you think I'm an alien? That's where you've always gone wrong. Like, yes, I'm an alien. I'm not from Earth, but I wake up every day. I put my boots on, and I get scared. I make mistakes. I screw up all the time, but I try as hard as I can, and that's what makes me more human than anything, right?" Lex Luthor's just like, whatever, dude. You're a piece of shit. Whatever, And after the day is saved, Superman and Lois Lane, they make out. Good times. Go Superman, right? I almost lost train of thought there, but again, I'm sorry if that was just like the most just thrown against the wall thing, but the reason I'm making this video, more than anything, is because I want to talk about what Superman is, right? He's fantastic. Actually, hold that thought. Before I get into all that, let me finish the movie review like a proper video, like the ones I always make, right? So let's get into the visual effects, right? Because the story, I'm gonna give the story a 9, straight up 9, right? Because it's got me going on these tangents in this video, and I have to just straight up respect. I felt the threat. I felt the good writing. I felt these moments of I need to hold out hope that Superman's gonna pull through. Even though he is Superman, it's like, man, well, things are starting to get kind of dark for Superman. But no, every time he makes me root for him, and I love that. So somebody said, I think on Instagram, it's like an episode of the animated series, and I felt that in every scene. And man, I loved that. It was a huge, nostalgia moment for my childhood. So rating for the story, 9.0 out of 10. Solid 9. It would have just been slightly better if I would have gotten to see a couple more fists thrown, but that's just me. Now, moving on to our visuals. A little quirky, a little wonky at times, as far as a little more facial features, but overall, 8 out of 10, man. Great. It's exactly what I wanted. It wasn't just mindless destruction porn. Don't worry, Man of Steel fans, I'm gonna talk to you guys here in a bit, but it wasn't mindless destruction porn, but it was also, all of it felt real. There's times where I've seen the Man of Steel suit, and I'm just like, okay, first of all, Henry Cavill looks great, but like, it looks fake sometimes, right? And that's the point. Like CGI, that's what CGI is for. But there weren't always times where it looked like something real to me, right? From how he moves to how it looks, blah 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 blah. Versus David Cornsweet, his suit looked like something you would just put together and put on, and I feel like that's a very human thing, and that's what I liked about it. And I was like, wow, like that, it looks like a real suit, man. It looks like you actually throw that thing on and go be Superman, dog. Like, that's fantastic. Character design overall, there weren't too many things, like, as far as the villains are concerned, to like really look out for that were really that interesting. Ultraman was like kind of interesting, I guess, but the Justice Gang was really where it was at, besides Superman. You know what I mean? I think all their suits, the actors in them, fantastic. Couldn't ask for more. So I'm so excited to see more of, the DC universe, specifically James Gunn's universe. So for me, visuals, 8 out of 10. Solid, right, across the board. Music. All I have to say is dun 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 dun. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I'm not. It's not even that I'm gonna, gloss over this so I can get to the other points that I want to make. It's just that not only is that a legendary tune to hear, like when you hear it, you know it, right? Just like Star Wars, just like with the Batman's theme in the animated series, just like with Lord of the Rings, you hear that and you know, right? You look, even though he is not a real person, you hear that and you fight the urge to look into the sky and hope you see Superman. And I felt that every scene where, he was down and out, and you thought it was only gonna, like, it couldn't get any worse. Nothing was gonna get better, and you heard that music, and it filled you with hope, and that was what it was supposed to be. So for me, 9 out of 10. Just on that alone, but also just generally, they knew when to highlight things. They knew what kind of sounds they needed to make. Fantastic music. I love it. 9 out of 10, right? I don't care if you call me a glazer. I'm giving that a 9 out of 10 now. As a whole, the movie for me, solid 9 out of 10, right? I loved it. And guys, I've said it before, I'm a Batman fan through and through, but they got me here wearing the Superman t-shirt, watching the Superman movie, and I felt like a true fan. It made me want to go read more Superman comics. Will I? Maybe, maybe not. But as I roll into Comic-Con, I'm going to be talking about Superman to everybody who's going to listen to me, right? The haters, the lovers, everybody. I'm going to see every Superman. I'm like, hey man, I know you saw it. I know you saw it. What you think? What you think? You loved it? Hey, there we go, right? Fantastic movie across the board. I think DC should pat itself on the back for putting James Gunn at the helm. James Gunn should be very proud of himself. Everybody did such a great job in this movie. The actors, the writers, everybody. Just standing ovation from me. I tried so hard not to just stand up and just start crying and clapping at the same time. But overall, 9 out of 10. Now, what I'm going to spend the last couple minutes of this movie, not movie, I'm not making a movie, I'm making a video on YouTube, of this video is Superman as a concept, what it means, right? Because I always think of Superman, right? And I kind of like alluded to it before, I kind of refocused myself. Is Superman is hope. Right. The S is a, it means hope as much as it is, the symbol of the House of L. Right. I once heard, it was in it was in the Titans live action show. Donna Troy was explaining the Nightwing. Batman was created to punish the guilty. But Wonder Woman was born to protect the innocent. I want to add a third one and say Superman was sent here to give us hope. Well, no. Better yet, Superman was sent here to inspire hope, right? He is the man of tomorrow because he is the one who can lead us there, right? And, I'm not gonna, voice copy, or I'm not going to copy off these narratives that, hey, Injustice and Man of Steel have kind of diluted the image of Superman. I think those stories were great for what they were, especially Injustice. I love to see that Superman could be turned so horribly wrong, because that does bring interest. A lot of people like the grim darkness of what kind of universe Batman, not kind of, but like the kind of world Batman like lives in on a regular basis, the kind of dark world that Homelander from The Boys would show us if Superman was a real person and was a horribly flawed, disgusting, reflection of himself. But the thing that makes Superman interesting, because a lot of people say, oh, he's boring, right? And it's like, I'll challenge you to look again, read his comics. I think I'm going to do my best in the near future to read a little bit more Superman, because I always get a lot of the Superman that I see from Batman's point of view, because I read mostly Batman comics, right? But even in those moments, especially, I believe it's the wedding arc for Batman and Catwoman, Batman and Superman are explaining the things that they each do better than the other, right? Superman's like, he's the strongest man I know, and Batman's like, he's the best person I know. Superman's like, there's nobody like Batman, because he should be all these horrible things, and he's not. He's chosen to be a hero. And Batman says the same thing about him. He's like, hey, he's the strongest person on earth. He should be ruling us. He should be smearing me like an ant on the floor. But they both agree that they are both not only are they opposites, but they think the other guy is the better man. And in all honesty, they're both on equal terms. But something Superman does, worlds above Batman, is, like I said, he inspires hope. He is fundamentally kind, right? Yes, he's powerful on these things, but the thing that makes Superman the most interesting, right, as far as his character, because people always think, oh, he's so boring because he could do all these things. Yeah. And him being a violent person would also make him interesting, but it is the fact that he is so kind that despite all his immense gifts, he chooses to be who he is, without question, without fault, right? I saw one little comic panel where he's like, I kicked a tree once. I felt so bad that I spent the rest of the day planting trees all across Kansas, right? That, for me, that's Superman in a nutshell. And you see that in the movie. He goes out of his way to save everybody he can. Like, somebody dies in front of him, and he is just devastated because he could not save that person, right? It is the superhuman kindness that Superman evokes that I think makes him the most interesting character as far as superheroes as a whole. Right up there with Batman, and why, hey, he doesn't kill because of some moral obligation, as well as like, hey, he just can't, right? But Superman, like, he doesn't have a lot of those same moral obligations. He chooses not to, right? I mean, I guess it could be a moral obligation, but he chooses to be kind. And I think the biggest lesson from all that is, hey, like, this version of Superman shows us not only just, be a kind person, be a better person, but it gives us hope that we can be better, right? And that's what I think when people say, or when they say Superman will lead us into tomorrow, I think that is the biggest thing he's going to lead us into, is a greater era of kindness. And I think everybody, across the planet, regardless of what's happening, what you're doing, who you are, where you're from, I think that is a point that you cannot ignore, is that kindness, in the end, no matter how hard it is, kindness is always better than cruelty, right? I loved this movie, and it inspired me to be a better person, right? It wasn't just, not to say that Man of Steel was a bad movie, it was just a different take on Superman. But, there was a lot more destruction porn in that, and yes, I did love it. I absolutely partake in it, and it's something I will always enjoy, but that's not always who Superman is, right? Superman is the fundamental big blue Boy Scout. He is kindness incarnate. Not just a god amongst men, right? And I think this movie really highlighted that, and I thought it was fantastic. And I think he did such a justice to Superman. And it was a movie that I think we can all take, a little lesson from, and realize not only can we be better, kinder people, but we can hope for a kinder tomorrow, right? I know there's a little weird rant at the end, but as a whole, again, if you can't tell, I love this movie. I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to be inspired by Superman going forward. So thank you guys. Let me know what you think about the video, this little rant, in the comments down below, and like, share, and subscribe. Otherwise, Jiraiya out.